Okay, what's happening in South Korea right now is absolutely insane. So the president, pretty much out of nowhere, right as everyone was trying to go to bed, he gives a unannounced, live televised address. And he says, I am declaring martial law for the country for the first time since 1980. I mean, do you know how freaking serious martial law is? It is the temporary rule of the country by the military in a time of emergency. You can be arrested without a warrant. All parliamentary activity banned. And even the media is under the martial law command. And why he called it in the first place is even stranger. He vaguely said it was to protect the country from North Korea and to eliminate anti-state elements. Now, to say that this shocked not only South Korea, but the entire world would be an understatement. And after this address, not only are you seeing helicopters flying around the place, you see military vehicles in the streets, protests breaking out, but the army went to the parliament to stop political activity. But they couldn't stop all of them. One lawmaker said that he had to freaking jump the fence to get in. How is this real life? So 190 out of the total 300 MPs were able to get in and cast a vote. And every single one, 190 to 0, voted to block martial law. And so legally at this point, what that should mean is that the president must now lift it. But he hasn't yet. In fact, he said it's been complete silence since he gave his first address. So the latest is that the military is saying it's not over until the president says so, but they won't prevent any parliamentary activity. It's kind of just a formality at this point. So no one really knows what to think. Everyone's a bit confused. Told you, freaking insane. And it's about 5-6 a.m. there now, so it's gonna be a crazy day of updates.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has abandoned a short-lived attempt at martial law after lawmakers defied security forces to oppose it. Yoon declared emergency martial law in a late-night address on Tuesday, citing anti-state elements and threats posed by North Korea's communist forces. The shock move sparked protests and left South Koreans in disbelief.
자려고 이렇게 누웠다가 이게 유튜브 보는데 갑자기 소식이 있더라고요. 그래가지고 거짓말인가 그랬는데 그래서 여러분들 막 들어보니까 진짜 계엄령을 선포한 거예요. 그래가지고 너무 걱정이 돼서
190 lawmakers passed a motion early Wednesday against the declaration. Soon after, at about 4:30 a.m. local time, Yoon appeared on TV to say that he will lift martial law.
국회의 계엄 해제 요구가 있어 계엄 사무에 투입된 군을 철수시켰습니다. 바로 국무회의를 통해 국회의 요구를 수용하여 계엄을 해제할 것입니다.
South Korea's main opposition party is demanding that Yoon step down immediately, accusing him of insurrection. The nation's largest umbrella labor union has called an indefinite general strike until Yoon resigns. The leader of Yoon's own ruling party has described the attempt as tragic, and he wants those involved to be held accountable.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen. So I'm sure most of you have heard of what's been happening in South Korea, where the president called for a martial law state, but the parliament voted against it. And furthermore, the citizens of Korea came out to protest against it.
Right.
And so in today's video, we're going to be reacting to the situation in South Korea, sorry.
Right. So guys, it's like when you wake up every day, there's something
new drama in the world,
something going on somewhere in the world, you know. And I'm like, these days you just can't go to sleep and expect to wake up without no drama, yeah?
Right. But one thing I tell myself though, if it is the government against the people, I'll always support the people. I don't know why they're protesting, but no, always, even if in some instances we will never know why they're protesting, but in this day and age, you'll always know why people are protesting. I'll always support the citizens because in my opinion, politicians usually pass the agendas of the 1%.
Yeah, and guys, I feel like this worked. These people saved their country because both the political class and the people of South Korea came together and they worked together. But guys, we don't want to talk a lot. Let's just watch the video compilation we have for you where people will be explaining, and South Koreans also will be coming out to talk about
the situation that happened last night and early this morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's watch and then we come back and talk about it. Let us know what you think about this episode. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here.
I don't think anybody understands what just happened in South Korea, but we will. In a matter of 6 hours, South Korean citizens stared down the barrel of a military dictatorship and shut it down. It was only 40 years ago that South Korea had a military dictatorship. Their citizens, they've seen how bad it is, and they're not going to let it happen again. Americans have lost that fight. Not only did President Yoon back down and rescind his declaration of martial law, but as a result, the Korean Federation of Trade Unions, which includes 1 million workers, including the entire Hyundai assembly line, announced an indefinite general strike until President Yoon resigns. Adjusting for population, that would be like if 7 million Americans went on strike to demand the resignation of Donald Trump. The overwhelming response was warranted. South Korean officials announced that they reviewed closed-circuit footage, discovered that in the process of declaring martial law, President Yoon attempted to have the opposition party leader, the ruling party leader, and the Speaker of the National Assembly arrested. They tried to arrest political leaders before they could hold a vote to overturn martial law. President Yoon attempted to overthrow the South Korean government. South Korean citizens have seen this movie before and they're not going to watch a rerun. So instead of allowing President Yoon to provide Donald Trump with a case study on how to overthrow a modern democratic government, South Korean citizens provided us with a blueprint on how to respond if Donald Trump tries to do the same.
Hey everyone, so martial law was just lifted in South Korea, but the big question is, where do we go from here? One expert I just spoke to says impeachment. Take a listen.
I think it's going to impeachment, and he probably will be forced to resign. But he has created a pretty bad situation for himself. Ironically, he was the law and order guy in the last administration, the last presidential administration. He had been a top national prosecutor for a significant part of his career. And the fact that he has created this mess is just very, very strange. Yoon, I think, acted out of weakness, obviously, rather than strength. Yoon also has a below 20% popularity rating even a month ago, let alone now.
Right now I'm in Seoul, South Korea. Overnight, the country's president declared martial law, sending military vehicles into the streets of this capital city. Eventually, the parliament voted to lift the decree, a decision that was accepted by President Yoon. But now there are calls by protesters and opposition leaders for the president to step down.
So the whole world is basically confused as to why the president of South Korea decided to declare martial law, and let me tell you why. This man has an approval rating of 17% as of November. The highest it's gone, maybe like 25%. That's like the highest. That's like a good number for him. And basically, the opposition party, they've tried to impeach him 22 times. There's so many issues going on with his legislation right now. His wife has, yes, been proved to have accepted bribes. He had to pardon her because of all the bribes and, you know, stock manipulation. She's definitely committed a crime, and so he had to kind of pardon her as the president and kind of protect his wife. And basically, there's just a lot of corrupt things going on in his legislation. We can even call it a regime now, because that's like more like the dictatorship to me. And basically, this is his last kind of straw, trying to keep his legislation, trying to keep his presidency, which is crazy because little do a lot of people know, this man has been involved in everything. You guys know the Chang Jae-eun scandal? Yes, the Korean actress who committed suicide, and she left like a note with 31 very famous, influential people who she had to perform sexual acts and sexual services for. And the investigation went on in 2021 where they had to reinvestigate. And during that time, guess who was the Supreme Prosecutor General? Yes, it was Yoon Suk-yeol. He was in charge of Chang Jae-eun's case. And it has been proven that he met with Bang Sang-won. They were, frequently seen like meeting each other during that time. I wonder why. Bang Sang-hoon is the chairman of Chosunilbo, and his son was involved in it. Their names were on that list of the people that she had to perform and sexual services for. So you guys can see that this man has been involved in all the corrupt bad things in Korean government, guys. And so am I surprised that he's trying to do everything in his power to keep the presidency? In the history of Korea, last time martial law was declared was during the regime of Chun Doo-hwan, who basically took over the presidency through military power. And he declared martial law. He dissolved the National Assembly, arrested everyone who tried to advocate for democracy. There were so many people who died under his regime, and it's basically a dictatorship that he's trying to enforce. And the crazy thing is that he's saying that he needs to protect the country from pro-North Korean forces. Like, excuse me, like, you're promoting dictatorship right now. Like, what are you talking about? So, guys, I literally think that the whole Chung Sung incident too, like, I know Chung Sung wasn't a good man, like, what he did was not, but why was it so blown up, guys? Like, I wonder why was the scandal blown up so much? Because the Korean government trying to hide something. Yoon Suk-yeol is trying to hide something, guys. You know that whole Suga incident where they like put those fake videos of Suga like driving like the scooter, like it wasn't even him, and like it was just blown up like literally for weeks and weeks. Why do you think? It's the South Korean government trying to hide something. Every time a celebrity and big incident scandal happens, it's always the government trying to hide something. Yoon Suk-yeol, he's literally trying to grasp the last kind of like strings of his power by declaring martial law in 2024. That's absolutely ridiculous, guys. Pray for Korea. Honestly, they need a better leader.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about this video in the comment section, right? Can you talk about if plans backfiring on your face was a person, South Korea would be the child, the president of South Korea would be the poster child for that. Yeah, and can we just talk about the fact that he was trying to pass this law in the dead of night when people are preparing to go to sleep? That was some underhanded type of, you know what? And that is cowardice. But it speaks for itself, the kind of leader he is. Even his own people at this point, they do not respect him. And then can we just speak about how the other leaders from other countries are moving forward, how they are going to see him and view him, because he's kind of lost his respect. Right, and people normally say, make sure before you start something, you can damn well finish it. And he couldn't be able to even finish this one, Clearly no one expected this, but I can say by now, I really love the fact that the political class, excluding the president, of course, how the political class and the citizens together worked together to stop this when it was starting. And I feel like, it doesn't matter the reason why people fought against this, but let's just look at people had their own personal selfish interest, because somebody has explained in South Korea, the last martial law that was passed, which was 40 years ago, the same thing would have happened if this went through, that people would have been a brutal dictatorship where people would have been, unalived, and people would be arrested without warrants. Another thing they said that would have happened, parliamentary proceedings would have been disbanded, meaning their jobs were being threatened, Right. This president was stupid. So in this case, I would say the political class worked together with the civilians because their jobs were directly affected, their salaries would have been affected, being led by just one coward president. And even his ratings, they've talked about his ratings, and it's not the best, and which makes me wonder in the first place how he got to that seat. Was he genuinely put there, or was he put there by the powers that be? Do you have to ask, being here in Kenya, we have a president like Ruto? That should answer your question. That should answer my question very true, because what he did was a desperate grasp of power, because like right now, even if his own parliament does not listen to him, I do get why he tried to seize power like that, so that his word can be the only word that goes. And there's another American who was talking, the one who had a beanie on,
and he was saying the good thing about what happened in South Korea
is that it was an experiment to see
failed.
how you can trigger a dictatorship. It failed because
Donald
in his
Trump,
word he says, because the South is an ally with America, your next president would have tried something like this, or might try something like this.
He looks like he has the potential
to do
also,
that.
Yeah,
but he says at least South Koreans have shown American citizens the blueprint of how to handle the situation when it happens. And in this situation, I can truly say that South Koreans are people who learn from their previous endeavors, history, because this time when the president tried to use the same measures to become a dictator the way they experienced it through martial law 40 years ago, they read the signs and they came out in numbers to stop it.
Right. I hope people are learning from this situation. The good thing about today's world is that we have social media and news spreads like wildfire, and you're able to see for yourself from
what
people
is
who
happening.
live there, what is happening from people who live there. You're not told through a biased news station or media, And why am I saying this? Because if you look at what happened in Kenya when they were protesting against the IMF to leave Kenya and our president, I feel like the biggest reason why, because at the end of the day,
failed terribly in their protests. For those who remember what was happening in Kenya, it's because Kenyans were fighting this fight alone. Because it was like literally Kenyan citizens were on one side and all political leaders were on the other side. And what I love about this situation is Kenyans came to see, when it comes down to see, every political leader is very corrupt in Kenya.
There's no
opposition or ruling party. They're all in one side when it comes to here in Kenya. So that's why I really feel like I'm really proud of South Korea, because even what can make you see how bad of intentions this president had was that he was planning to arrest major political leaders in South Korea, which he failed.
That's such a coward move. He should be ashamed of himself, whatever he is.
Yeah, because if he had managed to do that, now there'd be no one speaking up for the people or against him, you get. And this is why
a lot of people also would have lost their lives trying
because
of one man.
Because of one selfish man. And I feel like right now South Koreans and their parliament should hit when the iron is still hot.
Yeah, this is the time
get him out when the temperature is still like this, because if they don't manage to do that, he'll try some other underhanded type of.
And I hope someone gets to greet him behind the tent after he's been impeached, for him to feel what he was going to put on others,
Right. So that is why I say, over and above, whenever situations like this come, there's a reason why citizens act like this, and I will always support the citizens, not the government.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. As usual, we want to thank you so much for joining this episode. Let's catch you on the next. Also, consider subscribing if it's your first time here, right?
Right.